Hello there everyone, welcome back to Press for Truth TV. Today is Friday, August the 10th, 2012. Thanks for joining me once again today. And just when we thought that things couldn't get any worse in regards to these mass shootings going on in the States, today we have a report coming out that the third mass shooting in the last month has just occurred, as last night in Alabama, a man walked into a nightclub, opened fire, and killed 3 people, injuring 4 others. Here is a report out today from RT. Third mass shooting in a month leaves 3 dead at Alabama nightclub. Following a 7-hour search across rural Alabama, police arrested a man early Friday that they consider a suspect in a Thursday evening rampage that left 3 people dead at a nightclub in the third mass shooting in America within a month. Police arrested 22-year-old Ryan Clark Peterson of Enterprise, Alabama, in a wooded area around 100 miles outside of Montgomery, just after 7 a.m. Friday. The authorities believe Mr. Peterson played a role in a massacre at a Dothan, Alabama nightclub just before midnight late Thursday. Witnesses report that Peterson was allegedly kicked out of Teaser's nightclub on Thursday, only to retreat to his car so that he could return with a gun. Investigators then say the shooter opened fire, killing 3 and injuring at least 4 more. Shortly after authorities apprehended Peterson, officers informed the media that their suspect had not immediately been questioned yet because he was believed to be still inebriated. Of what little is known of the suspect, he was arrested at least once before this year over a charge of third-degree theft of property, Alabama's Southeast Sun reports. The Alabama nightclub massacre is the third mass shooting in the United States has seen in the last month. On July 20th, 12 people were killed at an Aurora, Colorado movie theater after a gunman believed to be 24-year-old James Holmes opened fire. In a separate incident, investigators have identified Wade Michael Page as their sole suspect in a shooting last weekend at a Sikh Temple outside the Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that took the lives of a dozen more. According to an ongoing tally kept by Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, the United States is experiencing an average of 20 mass shootings a year. So it's unbelievable that we're seeing the third one in a month there in the States. And the thing now is that it's becoming increasingly more difficult for people to get to the bottom of what really transpires and what's going on when these events occur. Because as in the recent case with James Holmes, a judge has placed a gag order on the case, effectively keeping all of the documents out of the public record. So it's getting very difficult for people to get to the bottom of just what's going on. Here's an article on that from RT again. Joker case gagged. Media fights Colorado court ban. Attorneys representing media outlets are in court to push for the publication of files concerning the Colorado cinema murders. The judge put a gag on the files at the behest of prosecutors, but the press argues the public has a right to see them. The decision to seal the documents off from public access undermines our nation's firm commitment to the transparency and public accountability of the criminal justice system, said media lawyer Steven Zansberg in a written statement. The Associated Press, along with 20 other news agencies, is appealing for the dissemination of the documents in court this Thursday. Judge William Sylvester closed the case on July 20th at the request of the prosecutors, who claimed that releasing the files could potentially jeopardize the case investigation. The move sparked a wave of protest from the media, saying the public has a right to see the documents. Press attorneys argue that the explanation given for the sealing of the files is not adequate and needs to be elaborated on if the bar is to remain in place. In most court cases in the U.S., the documents pertaining to the trial are available to the public. However, exceptions are made if files obstruct an ongoing police investigation or encroach on the privacy of family members of the victims. The files in question include the affidavits the police would have filed in before defendant James Holmes was arrested, detailing why officers thought that he was the murderer. The bar on the documents makes it impossible for observers to follow the arguments put forward by the defense and the prosecution during the trial because they reference the files by numbers only. So again, they are making it increasingly more difficult for people to get to the bottom of these situations, to learn the true nature of what's going on. And as in with the third case of these shooting situations in the last month, there is Wade Michael Page, the accused shooter at the Sikh Temple in Wisconsin. And now we are learning in regards to that case that the security cameras at the temple just so happened to have been turned off during that shooting. Here's an article on that from Paul Joseph Watson. Surveillance cameras turned off during Sikh Temple shooting. Questions as to whether there were multiple shooters involved in the Sikh Temple massacre are likely to remain unanswered, given the fact that surveillance cameras covering the property were turned off at the time of the incident. According to NPR's Dina Temple-Ratston, who spoke with FBI Special Agent Teresa Carlson, there was no video in the temple itself. Apparently their surveillance camera wasn't on. Why the camera was turned off during what one would expect to be the temple's busiest time, a religious service on a Sunday, has not been explained. The absence of video footage of the event makes it impossible to corroborate multiple eyewitness accounts attending to the fact that more than one individual carried out the shootings. Speaking with the Associated Press, an eyewitness stated between 10 and 10:30, 4 white males who were dressed darkly, dressed in all black clothing, came in and opened fire on our congregation. Temple member Amardeep Kalika, whose mother and father were injured victims in the shooting, also told WISN that his parents said that there were multiple shooters and multiple people, and that the attack was very well coordinated. Kalika added that his father saw multiple shooters of Caucasian descent. An ITN news report also quoted the niece of one of the temple members who said an unknown number of gunmen had walked into the kitchen of the Sikh temple and opened fire. Another man at the scene told Sky News, "I think they had multiple shooters." In addition, the chairman of the temple stated that the day before the attack, there were a few suspicious men seen on temple premises, again clearly suggesting the involvement of more than one person. Although speculation has centered around alleged shooter Wade Michael Page's ties to white supremacists, a definitive motive for the massacre has yet to be established. After initially claiming Page was killed by a police officer, authorities now assert that he shot himself in the head. Page's racist views were likely developed during his stint in the Army at Fort Bragg between 1992 and 1998, during which time he was a member of the Psychological Operations Unit. So it's just unbelievable that this has happened 3 times in the last month there in the United States, and that it is so difficult to get to the bottom of what's going on. You know, were these 3 separate cases just individual, lone, crazy gunmen who acted on their own? Possibly. Were these guys patsies that were used by the government for a much larger agenda? Quite possibly as well. Both sides of these issues are currently being heavily debated. But I think the important thing to remember is that regardless of either side of the argument, the bottom line is it is always the governments who benefit from these kinds of violent acts. It is always the governments who grandstand on these situations and step in and present themselves as the savior of the situation, who's going to offer all the solutions that are going to fix these problems. And I think that's what we're going to see emerge out of these cases, is a lot of these government officials kind of emerging as the phoenix bird, if you will, that rises out of the ashes. so that the government can offer us order out of the chaos that is being generated. And so I think that's something that's important to pay attention to. So I'll put a link to these articles in the description. If you'd like to check them out for yourself, you can do so. And other than that, guys, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Be well, stay safe, and I'll see everyone right back here on Monday at pressfortruth.tv. Take care.